there's no such thing as UFOs anymore.
What?
Let that sink in. They don't call them unidentified flying objects anymore. And when I say they, I mean the government. Now they call them UAPs, which stands for Unidentified Aerial Phenomenon. So just very interesting. So I'll be referencing everything as UAPs instead of UFOs.
That's awesome.
So let's dive right into it.
You come prepared.
There is a former government official named David Grusch. He worked at the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency, that's a mouthful, as well as the National Reconnaissance Office for the government. And since then, he's gone public and he's making some very interesting claims in the media. He said that in recent years, he worked with the federal government's Unidentified Aerial Phenomena Task Force, so the UAP task force, that used to be a UFO task force, set up to investigate reports of strange flying objects. Woo! So Grusch goes on to say that he's been told of secret government programs that have, quote, intact and partially intact vehicles, end quote, of non-human origin. So what do we think about that?
Interesting.
So by vehicles, he's referring to what I'm assuming to be spaceships of some kind or spacecraft. Yeah. He does, clarify to say these are non-human origin, which is very interesting. They're made of material and they're not of this world at all.
Yeah.
Supposedly, allegedly.
Yeah.
So moving on, he also says that he's been told that both the U.S. government, as well as other governments, that they've been engaged in a publicly unknown Cold War to try and get reverse engineering from these crafts. So he's basically saying that the U.S. and all governments around the world know about this, and they're trying to get their hands on it so they can reverse engineer it and get this new technology first, which is super interesting.
I mean, why wouldn't they, if they found something like that?
To me, if this is true, if these are true claims, it makes complete logical sense.
Yeah.
Like, if you think about this in, like, a reality sense, if there's actual UAP or alien technology out there, and our governments know about it all over the world, why wouldn't they try to race each other to get a hold of that first?
Right.
I mean, think about the space race. I mean, history repeating itself, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So what do you think about this so far?
Well, one, the math is mathin'. I'm excited to find out more in-depth information about this guy.
Yeah. So moving on, Grusch says that all this information that I mentioned earlier has been illegally withheld from Congress, which is a huge fucking deal. Huge deal. So before he left the government in April, which I think is a very interesting tidbit, he was getting paid very, very well. His benefits, his retirement fund, everything had to have been incredible. He was a very high-ranking official in the government's intelligence community. And he left that back in April. And he had been there for, I want to say, over 20 years. I could be wrong, but it was some time. His credentials are ridiculously good. So as soon as he quit, he filed a whistleblower complaint with the U.S. government and the intelligence community's inspector general. And he also gave all of this info to Congress in a private hearing. And from what I remember, in that private hearing earlier this year or late last year, I don't remember which one, there was only David Grusch, the whistleblower, the inspector general of the intelligence community, who's a big deal. He's in charge of like all of that.
Yeah.
And Congress. And I believe the attorneys. And that's literally it. It was a closed hearing.
Yeah.
So David Grusch already did testify to Congress privately about this. So he's also making some other claims.
Okay.
And I'm going to give another quote. So, quote, naturally, When you recover something that's either landed or crashed, sometimes you uncover dead pilots, end quote. And Grusch told this to News Nation in an interview. And I think that's very interesting because...
Is he trying to, like, hint at something there?
Yes, he's very obviously hinting at the fact that supposedly what he claims is that if there are UAPs and they have crashed or failed and fallen, or the government has seen them, recovered them, knows about it, then occasionally there are dead pilots. And by dead pilots, that would mean non-human pilots. Aliens! Whatever that means. So the interesting point is that David Grusch admits that he has no first-hand knowledge of any of this. These aren't things that he's seen himself. He hasn't seen these crafts. He heard about them from other respectable, credible people within this government group, or that are aware of it in the government. He is basically repeating what other people told him. So some questions that raises are, who are these people? What are their credentials? Are they also going to come forward? Are they telling him the truth? Congress has everything that they need to continue to investigate this. The public obviously doesn't, because these documents and evidence, they're still classified.
Right.
And I get things get declassified accidentally all the time. I get that. But this is a big case. And if it is true, it could change the world as we see it. David Grusch made 3 distinct claims, and these are very important.
Okay.
The first claim is that the U.S. has UFOs, or UAPs. As I said before, he's been told that the U.S. government has possession of these crafts. He knows specifics, including the names of the people that have been involved in these programs as well. And like I've said, he's given all that information to the right people. The second claim is that there's a secret Cold War going on, as I mentioned previously.
That's the craziest part of all of this to me.
I know. It's not even something that I've really considered when I've thought about the possibility of aliens and UAPs and everything. I've never thought about the Cold War possibility.
Yeah.
But it makes so much logical sense. And it's kind of scary in a way, because it's like, oh my God, could this be going on secretly, like under our noses? I don't know. But the last claim that he makes is that there is a cover-up, obviously, going on. That elements of the intelligence community have illegally withheld information on these programs from Congress. So the authors of this debrief article that came out, they claim that their anonymous sources vouch for Grusch, whatever that means, whatever their anonymous sources are. And they also include an on-the-record quote from a recently retired colonel named Carl Nell, who worked with Grusch. So Nell endorsed both Grusch's character and his claims of the secret 80-year arms race for technology, deriving from non-human intelligence. So the government Arrow that Grusch was involved in, the program, they did release a statement pretty much saying that they haven't discovered any verifiable information to support these claims. So anyways, what comes next? Well, David Grusch's classified claims will be reviewed by the intelligence community's Inspector General and Congress like before, and a public hearing on July 26th. And I'm 99% sure it's going to be open to the public. It will be televised from what I'm hearing. And I believe if it is televised, you can find it on C-SPAN, more than likely, for free. Or even maybe live streaming on YouTube. I don't know. But I do encourage the public and everyone who, even if you're not that interested in this, you should be watching this hearing.